So I asked ChatGPT, what was the main reason for Caucasians changing the identity of so-called black people throughout America? And this is what ChatGPT had to say.
The main reason for Caucasians, especially European colonizers and American elites, changing the identity of so-called black people throughout America was control. Specifically, to erase indigenous and historical identity and impose a slave identity. Here's the breakdown. 1. To justify slavery and dehumanization. Stripping people of their original names, tribes, religions, languages, and histories made it easier to dehumanize them. If a person has no known origin, no land, and no lineage, they are seen as property, not people. By reducing Africans and indigenous people to labels like Negro, colored, black, or slave, it made it easier to morally and legally justify slavery. To break the spirit and disconnect from power. Cultural erasure destroys a people's memory, and without memory, there's no unity, pride, or resistance. If you don't know you're from a noble lineage, an indigenous people, or even royalty, you won't fight for your identity. People with no spiritual, national, or tribal identity are easier to control. 3. To hide the true indigenous presence. Many scholars, elders, and independent researchers believe that a large portion of so-called black people in America are not all from Africa, but are indigenous to the Americas, reclassified as Negroes or slaves later. Changing their identity allowed colonizers to claim the land, erase prior civilizations, rewrite history. Number 4, to maintain white supremacy and racial hierarchy by creating false racial categories like white, pure, superior, and black, inferior, savage. They solidified a social structure that made whiteness the default ruler and blackness the default subject. Identity manipulation is central to maintaining this system. Historical examples. The Dawes Act and the reclassification of Native Americans as colored or black in U.S. records. African names replaced with European surnames during slavery. Erasure of African religions and languages, Yoruba, Akan, etc., in favor of Christianization and Anglicization. The one-drop rule made any person with black ancestry legally black, regardless of origin, further flattening identity. Bottom line, changing the identity of so-called black people was a strategic act of war, psychological, cultural, and spiritual. It was about control, land theft, erasure of legacy, permanent subjugation.